Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today POV is from Big Ben to the Shard, but at some point we'll leave the river behind and move into the inner neighbourhoods, looking for a less polished, less obvious side of London. As usual, we'll talk about composition, light, camera and lenses, all the things that we love. So buckle up and let's go. Okay, we just took our photo of the Big Ben, that was mandatory, but now let's try to focus on something more original. I like the light coming through the colonnade, it creates a beautiful pattern on the pavement. This place is usually packed, almost impossible for photography, but today it's a little quieter, so let's make the most of it. I'm starting this session with the Sony A7R5 and the 50mm f1.2. Then, towards the end, we'll take some shots with the 20mm and I'll show you how I use this unusual focal length. Now I'll step back a bit and wait for someone interesting to pass between the two main columns, with the crossing and Westminster Bridge in the background. I also want to keep the aperture wide open at f1.2 to get that creamy out of focus background. Well, let's cross the bridge and move towards Southwark. The light is amazing here, so it's important to always keep your radar on and look for anything that could become a picture. In this example, there's a shoot happening on the other side of the bridge, close to the lamppost. Behind them, you can see the new skyscrapers in Vauxhall. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of them, but in this case they give the shot an interesting background and a nice sense of perspective. I decided to close down the aperture to f5 to have more of the background in focus. I made a full video about this, how to scan a scene in 60 seconds and find better street photos. In that video, I share a simple framework based on 5 different signals you can look for, so you always have something to work with and a better chance of getting a strong shot. Here, what caught my attention was her long hair moving in the wind. For this shot, I decided to shoot wide open at f1.2 to get a really creamy Big Ben in the background.
Sorry.
A more traditional cityscape with Big Ben on the left side of the frame. For this kind of shot, I want more depth of field and better overall sharpness, so I'm closing the aperture down. Most lenses are sharper around f4 to f5.6, and here I'm using f4. Just remember, at the same aperture, the closer your subject is to the camera, the stronger the background blur will be. So f1.2 works well when you want to isolate your subject, or when your subject is quite far away and you still want some separation. But if you want to keep more context in the scene, f4 is often a good sweet spot. When you live in a beautiful city like London, it's very easy to get used to the amazing landmarks right in front of you. But as photographers, it's important to keep noticing them and find new ways to frame familiar places. Now, as promised, let's leave the river Thames behind and explore the inner streets. I want to find a more authentic, more local version of London. The kind of London you don't usually see on Instagram. And honestly, this is the London I love photographing the most, because for me, street photography is mostly about documenting people's lives in a specific place and a specific moment in time. This framing is beautiful. We have 2 strong leading lines from the walls, and the background adds interest, contrast and reflections. The sunlight hitting the wall on the left becomes our canvas. Now we just need someone walking close to it, so we can get a beautiful shadow in the frame. When you hear people saying, "This camera has great dynamic range," what does it actually mean? Look at this scene. We're shooting into the light. If I expose for the highlights, especially the sky, everything in the street becomes very dark. But if I expose for the street, the sky gets completely blown out. This is where dynamic range comes into play. It's the ability of the sensor to capture detail in both the bright highlights and the dark shadows in the same scene. Usually it's much easier to recover shadows than blown highlights. So in situations like this, I prefer to protect the highlights and slightly underexpose, maybe by 1 or 2 stops. Then in post, I can lift the shadows and bring back detail without losing the sky. Okay, let's get back to the shots. For this one, I placed my subject all the way to the right side of the frame. The traffic light pole is actually sitting close to the rule of thirds line, which helps balance the composition. Then, to guide the viewer's eye even more, you can add a radial gradient in post and slightly reduce the exposure around the subject, just enough to make the eye go where you want it to go. In one of the side streets, I found this beautiful piece of graffiti of Anthony Bourdain. Here, the 50mm feels a bit too tight. A 35mm would have worked much better. The background with the skyscrapers is really interesting, but taking a simple shot of them would be boring. So I'm trying to find something in the foreground that can become the main subject of the photo. My first attempt was with this post box on the pavement, but I wasn't really happy with the shot. So I decided to change angle, get lower, and frame the whole scene from the pavement all the way up to the top of the skyscraper. Then I just waited for someone to walk down the pavement and land in the right position so they could become the focus point of the image. Aperture is 1.2 because my subjects are not very close and I want the beautiful out of focus transition of this lens. Reflections were one of the things I never really thought about when I started street photography, but actually you should always look out for them. They can turn a normal scene into something much more interesting, adding layers, symmetry, and a bit of mystery to the frame. Bridges are always useful in street photography. You can use them to frame your subject, and they often create strong contrast between light and shadow. They also give you leading lines, depth, and a clear structure for the composition. As I mentioned before, I'm using the 50mm, which I really love. This lens gives you a natural field of view, which feels close to the way we perceive a scene. Compared to a 35mm, it gives you a bit more compression and less distortion. But compared to an 85mm, where the image is often all about the subject, the 50mm still lets you keep some context in the frame. But at the end of the day, it also depends on how much space you have. If you're walking in a narrow street, or you can't step back enough from your subject, like in this case, the 50mm can start to feel too tight. That's when a wider lens, like a 35mm or even wider, might work better. On the other hand, when you have plenty of background and you're a bit further away from your subject, that's where the 85mm works beautifully. It compresses the scene, brings the background closer, and gives you strong separation. I've published several street photography videos using the 85mm, so check them out if you want to see how this focal length works in real situations. This is actually my first time walking through Southwark Street, and I'm really enjoying it. You can capture a great mix of everyday life, architecture, and people. Also, the light hitting the buildings or reflecting through the windows is amazing. It opens up a lot of possibilities, even in small alleyways like this one. Another important trick is to use objects and leading lines to frame your subject. In this case, the bus stop helps us frame the shard and guide the eye straight towards it. I also closed the aperture down to f1.8, so the foreground stays a bit more visible and easier to understand. At junctions, the light can be really beautiful. In this case, I'm waiting for someone to enter the frame and add a foreground element. I probably should have waited a fraction of a second longer, so the background was a bit more visible. The shard is getting bigger now, so my goal here is to capture someone walking on the pavement, with the shard standing tall in the background. As you can see, the 50mm is a bit tight here. I can't fit the whole skyscraper in the frame, but the slight compression from this lens looks beautiful. It brings the background closer and makes the shard feel even more imposing behind the subject. Let's talk a bit about the color and the editing of this photo. A few days ago, I posted 4 pictures from this session. And someone commented, "Nice camera, is this Fuji? Which model?" And I find this interesting, because when people see nice color grading, they often assume it must be Fuji. But honestly, that's not really how it works. By the way, the next shot is probably my favorite from the whole session. I love the way the light cuts through the scene, together with the shape of the shop, the traffic light, and the subject standing right on the edge of the light. For me, this one works perfectly. Getting back to the color, Fuji colors can be a bit easier to work with. The starting point is often very nice, especially if you use film simulations or recipes. And for family photos, travel memories or casual shots, a straight out of camera Fuji JPEG can be perfectly fine. But for the kind of images I want to share or put in my portfolio, I would almost never post a straight out of camera file. Not from Fuji, not from Sony, not from any camera. Because the final image is not just about color, it's about masking, adjusting the white balance, controlling the highlights, lifting or reducing shadows, working on specific parts of the frame, and guiding the viewer's eye. So yes, Fuji can give you a nicer starting point, but at the end of the day, I still edit Fuji files in the same way I edit Sony files. The camera helps, of course, but the final look comes from the edit. Another false myth that can ruin your photography is that you should only shoot during golden hour. Instead, those photos were taken around noon. And exactly because of that, together with the architecture of the city, we get this beautiful contrast between light and shadow. If I had followed the idea that you should only shoot at golden hour, I would have missed so many incredible shots. And honestly, I would never have progressed much in my photography. Photography theory is simple. It's not rocket science, but putting that theory into practice is the hard part. So go out and shoot as much as possible, in different light, different places, and different conditions. That's the only real way to get better. Also, when you find an interesting place, don't be in a rush to leave. Even if you've already taken a good photo, stay there a bit longer and explore other possibilities. Move around, change your angle, wait for different people to enter the frame, and see if the scene can give you something even better. Now it's time to swap lenses and use the 20mm. I knew I would finish this session near the Shard, so the 20mm is perfect for this location. The wide focal length allows you to photograph tall buildings, and the distortion can actually help exaggerate their scale. But at the same time, if you have people in the frame, there's a big chance the distortion, especially near the edges, will make them look weird. So yes, the 20mm is a great lens if you want your street photography to look a bit different from the usual. But be careful, try to keep your subject closer to the center of the frame, where the distortion is less aggressive. And as I said before, you have to use it, experiment with it, make mistakes, and slowly you'll get better. Then it starts to become really fun. Another thing that becomes easier with the 20mm is long exposure. You can fit more into the frame, and small movements from your hands or the camera are less visible compared to longer focal lengths. The 20mm is also fantastic for video. I use it all the time. Honestly, I think the Sony 20mm f1.8 is one of the most underrated lenses in Sony's lineup. So that's it for today's POV. We started from Big Ben, walked along South Bank, moved into the inner streets, and finished around the Shard. We used mostly the 50mm, then switched to the 20mm for a completely different perspective. Let me know in the comments which shot was your favorite, and whether you would use a 20mm for street photography. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.